Hello, everybody, and welcome to the School of Life with Sonny, where we talk about all things, everything. As always, I love to ask you, why learn from your own experience when you can learn from other people's experiences? Today I'm not as excited as I would want to be as I do this video. I'm actually doing this video with a very, very, very heavy heart. And why my heart is so heavy is because as Christians, we have been given all tools. As human beings, as children of God, we've been given all tools. We've been given it's like the blueprint of life. This is how things are. This is how things look like. This is how the world looks like. But we have ignored. And today I'm talking about life is spiritual. And I must say that I'm one very, very, very disobedient child of God, like most of us, but I could be the most disobedient of us all. In February, as soon as I was done with my recordings on patterns, cycles, names and namings, I went into prayer and I was like, God, what do you want me to talk about? And I woke up this day and I felt I had that statement, life is spiritual. I had not thought of that line, like life is spiritual. I didn't even know there was anybody who had spoken about life is spiritual. So I took time. I first wrote everything that I was thinking about, everything that came to my mind prayerfully. Then I decided to go online and look for what other people are saying about life is spiritual. And oh my God, whatever I came across, I was like, am I ready to go to talk about this? And I think I chickened out, and I went to coming to my journey, my coming to America journey. But my coach told me, you are as good as your last assignment. And so this has been very, very heavy on me, like coming back to talking about life is spiritual. So I'm gonna point out here that I came across Erica's and Tim's videos. And Tim, if you know Tim is Bamboo. He used to be a musician. So if you can, I would send you to go and watch videos that they have done on life is spiritual. I know many people are going to be like, oh no, I mean I don't, but I'm gonna leave that to you. So I said my heart is heavy because as Christians we live as if life is not spiritual, yet life is spiritual. I think I've been a victim of being told, you are exalting the devil by insisting that life is spiritual, or insisting on the works of the devil, like how, the way that the devil works. And this is what happens when you are when you are like woke spiritually, in terms of like life is spiritual, and in things to do with the spiritual realm and warfare. Many people tend to tell you, stop exalting the devil. Stop talking about like demonic things. Yet we have been warned, we have been told in Ephesians 6:12 that life is spiritual. And this is a strategy that the devil uses to make many people become oblivious of his tactics, of his schemes, and of his strategies. So ignoring this, assuming that life is spiritual, has become one of the greatest enemies to Christians. The Bible tells us that the seen world is made, or was made, from the unseen. But we have focused so much on the seen and ignored the unseen. We focused so much, we fixed our eyes so much on the seen, and we have ignored the unseen. So in this coming episode, I'm gonna be talking about life. Life is spiritual. I'm gonna be talking about some things that I personally have experienced, some things that have made me learn and know that life is spiritual. I remember when my mom died. actually after my mom's funeral, my small sister, or my young sister, we'll have to say small sister, my younger sister, and I went to to spend the night at a friend's house. And I remember my sister, who was 10, 11 by that time, I remember her asking me or telling me, like, actually she was smiling, and she told me, you know, you guys, you shocked me. Like, you guys shocked me so much. And I was like, why did we shock you? And she said, you would go, I saw you looking at mom's body in the coffin, and then you would scream and cry. And she asked, why were you crying? And I was like, what is this child saying? And she said, like, I mean, how can you look at a body and cry? And I was like, wow, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you. And I think that was God's way of comforting this child. Like, spiritually, she had been ministered to. You know, I think that is, for me, because I asked her, who told you that? And she said, no, but that was not her. That was not mom. Her soul was not there. Her soul was in heaven. And I was like, and my young sister used to talk a lot of things when from the time she was young. She used to say things that you were like, okay, who taught you this? So all of us are so inclined to believing in life is spiritual. When someone dies, we'll say their spirit is not here. We'll say this is their body. That is the one time that we are so sensitive to life being spiritual. But then when we move from that sad scenario, when you have comforted ourselves with the fact that, okay, this is not their soul, this is not their spirit, this is their body, then we come here in the world and then we start living as if life is physical. Life is spiritual. Everything is spiritual. Children of God, people, stay woke. Wake up to the fact that life is spiritual. We have exalted the physical being. I mean, the same way we ignore the mental wellness or the emotional wellness, and we exalt the physical well-being. When someone is going through something mentally, when someone is going through something emotionally, we tend to ignore that because we are not, because we love to ignore the unseen. I can't see how your heart is bleeding. I can't see how you're bleeding mentally. But then when you're bleeding physically, we're going to give you attention. And that is the same thing we've done. We have ignored the spiritual, yet life is spiritual. So what do I mean when I say that life is spiritual? I'm going to read one verse that explains it, and then I'm going to go to, I'm going to take you to part 2, where I'll be telling you the importance or the risk of making decisions without knowing that life is spiritual. So what is life is spiritual? Ephesians 6 verse 12 says, Ephesians 6:12, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood. That is so interesting. Our struggle is not about flesh and blood. So even when I have a lust, when I'm in addiction, the struggle is not in flesh and blood. There is something spiritual. It is something. So when you start addressing things physically, then we get it wrong. The struggle is not flesh and blood. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, and against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That is interesting. Against the powers of this dark world. So this dark world has powers, but we've become very, very ignorant of that. We have assumed that this dark world has powers. So I want to come to part 2, where I'm going to be talking about the cost of ignoring the spirituality of life when it comes to decisions. So check it out and see you in part 2. Life is spiritual.
Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, and it's just